Welcome in, everybody, to the FullTime Fantasy Podcast, powered by FullTime Fantasy and the FFWC, and also sponsored by Vegas Whispers. I just want to say this is our first episode, Jody, you and I here at the FullTime Fantasy Podcast, and I'm excited for it, man. We're going to have a lot of discussion this season, this offseason. We're going to have a lot of football talk heading into week one, and then throughout the season, we're just going to have all sorts of different topics and conversations with football. And it's just going to be two dudes sitting around drinking beer, wine, cocktails, whatever we want to do, sitting around a bar, kind of like our background right here, and just talking sports. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing great, Billy. It's just long overdue. Ever since I've been on with the full time for almost a year now, that's one of the things that I wanted to kick off. We just didn't have that talent that you bring to the table. So I'm appreciative of you being able to pick up the slack for what I can't do, and to be the hostess with the mostest.
Last time we did a recording together, I finished number one in the weekly ranking. So we have to top that.
That's right.
We have to top that somehow.
Yeah. We did that last season. We all three of them. Brad, he did real well too.
Yeah. So let's real quick for everybody that's tuning in now. Let's run through some of our backgrounds. Why don't you start with your background? Tell our listeners who you are, where you came from, kind of your introduction into the industry, and where you are now, and what your specialty is, so that way people who are tuning in for the first time to the FullTime Fantasy Podcast know who we are and what our credentials are.
Well, I've been in fantasy sports for like 30 years. We were kids that used to rent Tecmo Bowl, and we just became obsessive, and I would write stats and brackets. And, at the time I was in a dead end retail job, and it just wasn't cutting it for me. So I realized, people do this for a living. So, back in 2010, the first time I really made a go at applying for positions, Mike Patch, who I call the Godfather, who he's actually fathered a lot of us that have come up through the industry, including you, Billy.
That's right.
I applied for an article. He saw I was in Houston, and I did a trial article where I hyped that you should draft Ben Tate over Arian Foster. And needless to say, that didn't go well, but the writing thing did. And, in 2012, it was first year I entered Fantasy Pros, and I finished number one overall. And that's where people know me from. And I've made my way up through, lots of different places. I've written for Fantasy Pros, Pro Football Focus, just all kinds of places. And I'm thankful and appreciative to have finally landed, here with Scott and the full-time crew. And what I'm best known for is probably projections, rankings, kind of the old school stuff.
Yeah, and you're cutting yourself short there. Why don't you tell people where you finished the last few years in rankings? Because you're one of the most accurate rankers in the industry from a multi-year perspective, as well as one of your finishes. So don't cut yourself short here. Where have you finished inside the expert contest, and where is your multi kind of rankings at?
I'm not sure the multi thing anymore. I want to say it's either 6 or 7 times in the 11 or 12 years total I've done it. No, maybe 10 years. 6 or 7 times I finished top 30. 17th actually the last 2 years, and actually in 2020 at one time I was in top 5. But as you know, Billy, you're similar in these rankings. You can just miss on one player and have one rough week, and it can really hurt you. So I'm still extremely proud and happy to finish top 20 back-to-back years, and looking to be right up there again. And with you on board, that's going to be the focus, is how can we show up our projections and rankings, and let's get us both up to top 10.
Well, one of the sayings we used to always say is iron sharpens iron. And I know I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm looking forward to bouncing different rankings, ideas off you, seeing where we sit on players. I think it's one of the best tools that I've utilized over the last year in terms of helping myself, get better in rankings. And so I'm looking forward to working with you in that regards, especially because you've been one hell of an accurate ranker in this contest. For those who do not know me, my name is Billy Muzio. My background came up through fantasy data as well. And then very fortunate for Scott to bring me on board here with FullTime Fantasy with Jody. And I am primarily, or was, I should say, a high stakes fantasy football player, just a grinder, just a guy out there, just, playing these leagues and trying to win cash. And it just started doing projections and tiers and rankings myself to be better as a football player and to win more money. And it initially turned into a podcast, and next thing you know, here we are. So last year was my first year on the Fantasy Pros ranking competition. It was a lot of fun. Definitely had some learning curves. I joke around and say I was the Tyler Lockett of rankings. It was, one week I'd be in like the top 20, and the next week I'd be like 89th or 90th, and then I'd be like top 10, and then I'd be like 110th.
That's the way it goes. It's a thin line. You can keep your process the same and be doing the exact same thing every week, and just boom, just one horrible week, and you scratch your head and like, what went wrong? But as you get used to it, Billy, as the weeks are going on, you can tell as you're watching games Sunday, like, this is going pretty well. I was good on that guy. Or conversely, it can be like, oh man, I missed some guys this week. Boy, I was too high on him, and he got exited in the first quarter. But that's just the way it goes. That's why what I like about the whole Fantasy Pros is that it's a 17-week thing. It's not one bad week can put the hurting on you, but you can make up for it.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was week 16, week 17. I think it was week 16. It was the week Justin Jackson went off, and I was just like, I just don't think he's going to be a top 5 running back. And I think I had him at like 15 or 16, and boy, was I wrong, right?
I always remember that going back to my first year in the competition, 2012, Lamar Jordan was largely responsible for why I won, because one week I was the highest in the entire thing on Lamar Jordan, and he went crazy that week. He scored like 130, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. That vaulted me. I think it was like week 6. That vaulted me into first place, and that was a lead that I held on the rest of the time. So it's funny how a little small thing like Lamar Jordan one week really is what started it. And it's funny how you mentioned that. You just remember those kind of things.
Yeah, that's what was with me when I was like the number 1 running back ranker until like week 14. But it was I think I moved Henderson to like running back 3 one week, and the next closest was at like 20, and he finished at running back 3 that week. And
nice.
After that, I kept that lead until like the very end. Then I fizzled out like the Rams do in playoffs typically, other than last year. But it was just, it's one of those things that you remember specifically when you failed or when you succeeded in those rankings. But they're tough. Like, there was definitely a learning curve. I definitely have some strategies next year that I'm going to be implementing that I kind of adapted towards the end of the year that really helped me get more consistent. Like, I wasn't the hills and valleys now as much. It was a little bit more even keel, and I think I'll implement that more this year. Well, for those of you who are tuning in, we mentioned I did a tweet on Twitter. If you can go share that, that is going to be step 1 tonight. We're going to be giving away a free $25 best ball entry into the FFWC. If you would like to win that, share my tweet that shares the show. That way other people can see it. That'll be step 1. Step 2, later, we're going to ask you a question in the chat and see in regards to one of the overs or the unders and the lines that we'd like. And we're going to see if you remember what our take was. And whoever can guess it first or shout it out inside the live chat first will win the free dollar or the free entry. So stick around. We're not going to give it away right now, or otherwise everyone just leaves. We want you to stay. We want you to interact with us, have fun, talk, grab a beer, drink, have fun with us. We're just chilling. We're having a beer tonight. So, what are you drinking tonight, Jody? I saw you have beer up. What was it?
Yeah, it's a local here in Houston area called Saloon Door. It's not actually too far from me, but it's called Tasty AF. It is a peanut butter chocolate stout, and I was just fortunate enough to be going to a store and found the nitro version of it, which is actually pretty phenomenal. And that's saying a lot from a hophead like myself, because normally I'd be putting away something from Spindle Tap here in Houston, IPA or double IPA, or my favorite, the triple. But tonight I went with a little dark to slow it down a little bit for the show. And like I said, Saloon Door Tasty AF hits the spot pretty well.
Is it Tasty AF? Does it hold up to the name?
Yeah, like I said, this is the second time I've bought the Nitro 6-pack, because I was pretty impressed with it. The first time I've had it in the actual brewery, and generally when you trust in the brewery, it's almost always better than when you get it at home. But this one, with the Nitro, I was like, man, this is pretty sweet. So this is going to be in my regular rotation until the end of this month.
I'm just drinking a local IPA here. This one's from Oblivion. Just hadn't tried it before. Wanted to give it a shot. Not my favorite, I have to say, but I can definitely hammer 2 of these through the show, so I'm not complaining. So let's move on. FF Expo's around the corner. We're both going. We're going to be at the booth, right? I'm excited for that. This is your first time to the expo?
Yes, I didn't go last year. I've had to actually rely on you for some questions behind the scenes on the way some of the things work. But Bob's been awesome, about the way he's communicated as well. So I've already got everything booked and I'm ready to roll.
Awesome. Yeah, I initially was supposed to fly out on Thursday, and then I was double checking the dates, and I texted you, and I was like, "Oh crap! I just realized Thursday's my anniversary." So I had to go. Good thing I
Right.
caught it, right?
Yeah.
Had to go back through. I would have came back a single man, but no, I had to adjust the tickets that night after I realized that it was the wrong date to fly, and flying out first thing Friday morning. So I'll be there Friday afternoon now. So I'll be there Friday through Sunday. So looking forward to meeting you in person now. What are our plans when we get there? What's happening Friday night? I know you're playing poker there, but after poker, what are we doing?
I believe there's a party Friday night. That's from the website itself or from Bob behind the scenes. So I'm sure that's what we'll be doing. But remember, I'm bringing my girlfriend along, and this is our first like out of state trip. And as a matter of fact, this is actually the first time in her life she's actually going to be on a flight somewhere. She's flown twice, but she sky jumped both times, so she's never actually landed. She just had kids early and it was just never able to take that time out for herself. So I'm really thrilled that we're going to be able to do that. So with that in mind, we're coming Thursday. I wanted to have a little time for her and I to just enjoy being away from the Houston area and to be out and about. And we might hit the Christmas Story house. That was an idea she threw to me. I said, "Oh, that's great. I didn't realize it was actually in the Cleveland area." So that if we have a few minutes, but we're definitely going to hit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame probably Thursday because yes, like you said, I mentioned I'm RSVP'd for the poker Friday afternoon, and like I said, there's as far as I know, party Friday evening, so that should be a lot of fun. That's the first time that the vast majority of us will actually have a chance to rub elbows and talk, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I forgot they extended the party to Friday. Last year it was just Saturday night, so that is it's two nights of partying now, which is awesome because it's so nice to sit there with like I call them all of our peers, right? All of our peers in the industry, everyone that's been producing content, meet them, like meet the actual faces, and you're not just sitting behind a screen, right? Commenting on Twitter. You actually get to meet the people, and this community is just full of lively people, respectful people that are here to help each other grow, and it's just nice to be able to meet them in person. So
it was great. I went to FSTA and a couple times, and the one here in Dallas, and I got to meet Mike Tagliere. I wrote about that obviously, but I met for John and Josh and JJ. I just met a whole ton of people, and it's just great. The people, they're better in person than they actually are online. And when you get to meet, it's kind of like, you just been friends that have just been separated for a long amount of time, and everyone just takes to each other really well. And I highly recommend anyone that gets a chance to do one of these events that you actually take advantage of it and do it. Cause it's like, we all become, if anything, more than just friends. We actually, a lot of times we rely on each other for all kinds of things and you build real relationships with people. So we get a chance to actually meet in person and hang out. It's well worth it.
Yeah, networking is a very important piece of building a business, right? And I think it was Eric Moody who shared his post about his upcoming in the fantasy industry, I think yesterday or the day before. And networking was one of those, or creating your what is his comment he made? Treating your Twitter profile like a business. And I think that not enough people do that, right? But I think there's a bit of personality that needs to go along with it, but just being respectful like you would at a business with other people and making sure that you are networking, right? That's the key that I was taking away from it is look at it from a business aspect and network as much as you can, get to know as many people as you can, and really try to just grow your reach in the industry. I think that is just one of the key pieces that he touched on in that thread, which was a pretty amazing thread that he wrote actually. Okay, we got more people in here now. I'm going to go through the giveaway again. For those who have just tuned in, I did a tweet on Twitter. Find that tweet. It's going to be at FF Muzio, or Jody shared it as well. So that's going to be at Jody Smith NFL, and share that tweet and then stick around. I'll go through and see who shared that tweet. And then we're going to ask a question in relation to NFL futures here that we're about to jump into. And if you can remember one of our takes that we talked about that I'm going to bring up, then from there, whoever is the first to have the correct answer and respond inside the live stream, we will give away the free $25 best ball entry to the FFWC. So let's hop into NFL futures now. Football time. We've been talking beer for about 15 minutes and football and expo, which has been great. But NFL futures, that's what the show is tonight. And we don't know the 2022 NFL schedule is yet to be announced, but each team does know its opponents for every home game and every away game in 2022. So I want to run through each team here, and we'll kind of run through who their opponents are, both home and away, and then give the line that Vegas has for the over under and their win totals. And then we're just going to pick who we think is going to win. So let's hop through Buffalo real quick. Buffalo, excuse me. Buffalo has home games against Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, the Jets, the Browns, the Packers, the Vikings, the Steelers, and Tennessee Titans. Their away games, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets, the Ravens, the Bears, the Bengals, the Lions, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Rams. Over under is going to be 11.5. The over is at minus 135 and the under is at plus 115. Which side are you taking here?
Initially, I'm going to go over on the Bills. So you have to look at the Super Bowl odds. They're pretty much the overwhelming favorite at this point right now. And then you look at the additions they made to their defense. They went 11 last year, 11-6. They had a few things went wrong, and they were a little I don't know, what would you call it, on the verge of falling out of contention a little while. If you'll remember during the beginning or middle of last year, they were in a little trouble, and then they got hot at the right time. But like I said, I'm looking at some of the additions, bringing in Von Miller and then beefing up their defensive line. They beefed up their offensive line a little bit, and then now still got the draft in front of us. They got all their pieces in place. To me, I looked at the Bills as 12, 13 wins.
Yep, their Super Bowl odds right now are plus 650. They are the best odds right now. I should say they are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to take the over as well. I think 11.5. You know, we were talking off air that this extra game changes things when we're looking at these lines. But I do like what they've done this offseason. I agree with you, and I'm going to take the over here as well. Next in the AFC East, we have the New England Patriots, and the New England Patriots have a schedule home game against Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, Baltimore Ravens, Chicago Bears, Cincinnati Bengals, Detroit Lions, and the Colts. And then all their away games include the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Las Vegas Raiders, and Pittsburgh Steelers. Their total sits at 8.5. Are you taking over or under?
I'm not a big Patriots guy. I don't know that they've got better, but I never am going to discount what Bill Belichick can do. So 8.5. I mean, gosh, it's hard to say that you're going to see the Patriots falling off to under 500. So that's a good number in my view, and it wouldn't shock me at all to actually see them dip down a little bit. But I'm betting on Bill Belichick here, and it's a half a game, so I think they can go, 9-8 without too much of trouble. Take the over.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good line. I also like the over here just because you look at, some of the other teams in the conference, and yes, the conference has gotten stronger, but I still think looking at this schedule, you look like you have the Lions there. They'll probably win one, if not both, against the Dolphins. The Dolphins always play them really tough, though, even when they had Brady. Like the Dolphins just seem to always show up whenever they played the Patriots, but I expect them to split there. The Jets, I expect 2 wins, if not a split, the worst case scenario. The Bears, that's a 50-50 game. Steelers are not looking as promising this year either. So looking at their strength of schedule and depending upon where some of these games land, like depends on which week they're playing Cleveland, right? Are they with Deshaun Watson or without Deshaun Watson? So there's some questions here that are going to, I think this number will eventually adjust once they have the schedule and the week numbers. Cause like, for instance, Vegas doesn't even have the Browns on and over under there. You can't find the bet to place for their futures for win totals right now because of the uncertainty. So depending upon that game, I think that could be, if it's earlier in the year, I think that's probably win. If it's later in the year, it's a little bit more, it's up for debate. So I'm going to take the over, but I think it's close as well. All right, let's take a look at next in the AFC East. We got the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins have home games of the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, the Browns, the Packers, the Texans, the Vikings, and the Steelers. Away games include the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, the Ravens, the Bears, the Bengals, the Lions, the Chargers, and my beloved San Francisco 49ers. Their over-under is going to be 9 even, and it's going to be 110 both ways. Which side you taking?
Okay. Logic tells you you're talking about a team that was one of the hottest in football towards the end of the season. Come back after being, what were they, 0-7, 1-7, and they came back and they still finished above 500. But I'm actually going to go with the under here. You're breaking out those guys played really, really hard for their coach, and now you're breaking in an entire new regime. And like you just mentioned, look at the schedule. They've got some gimmies against the Texans and 2 against the Jets. They play the Bears and they play the Lions, but the rest of their schedule is actually really, really respectable. I think they're going to struggle a little bit. This is no gimme for them. And, I love the pieces they add and all that, but I'm still not 100% sold on Tua as being their full-time option. So, like you said, the numbers are even. So, we can't just pick all over. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say they're a 7 or 8 win team.
Yeah, their away schedule is really tough. I mean, Bills, Patriots right there. That's pretty damn tough. You have the Ravens again, Chargers, Niners. Like that could be 5-6 losses right there just in away games, not to mention how hard it is to win on the road, let alone those type of competitors. So, man, I feel like I'm just agreeing with you, but I do have to take the under here as well. If it was 9.5, if it was like 8.5, I'd probably take the over, but that extra half a game, I'm going to take the under here just to give myself some leeway. Kevin says, Mike McDaniel is my hero, 17-0. I think Wheeler's been drinking longer than we have already.
Live it up, buddy.
All right, New York Jets. You want to guess what their line is?
Oh, let's see. What were they, 4-13 last year? I don't know. They giving them half a game? They 4.5, 5?
5.5. You were close. Yeah, 5.5. Home games include Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Ravens, Bears, Bengals, Lions, and Jaguars. Away games include Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Browns, Broncos, Packers, Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks. 5.5 sounds generous.
It does. It seems like a sucker bet, doesn't it?
It kind of does. Yeah.
Well, for the sake of brevity and the fact that we can't just keep taking the same things over and over again, I'm going to go under on that. They might be a little bit better, so maybe they go 5-12 this year. That gives us a half game cushion. The schedule actually looks pretty appealing. It wouldn't be a shock to see them jump up to 6-7, but it's a pretty tough division for them. And I didn't love a lot of what I saw about their offense last year, and this team is perpetually seems to be spinning in their wheels. And until they show me some signs they're getting it right, like I said, a game and a half improvement. I'm not sure where we're seeing it before the draft falls into place. So let's go with the 5 wins for them. So
if they sign let's just say that tomorrow DK Metcalf signed with them, does that sway you either way?
No, I don't know if their quarterback can get anyone the ball correctly.
Okay.
No,
I think the extra half game does it for me too. You're looking at the schedule again. Seahawks, they probably beat this year. It's going to be, it's one of those 50-50 games. Steelers aren't the toughest team this coming year. Vikings, new system as well. We don't know, right? They got Jacksonville, Detroit. So 5 games is probably about right. I would not feel comfortable taking it over here on the Jets. I think, isn't Scott a Jet homer here? He says Jets are going to be better on both sides of the ball. Much easier schedule this year. The line was a mess. No pass last year. LaFleur is an underrated OC. You have to be a Jets homer to say that. Are you a Jets homer, Scott?
Oh, he is. Hey, we're saying they're getting better by 1 game. I still like the under though.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't see him winning 6. 5, okay. 4, okay. 6 is a lot for the Jets to win this year. Next year I'd probably take the over, but I don't think this year. So that's it for AFC East. Let's jump into AFC North. Bengals. Bengals schedule includes home games against the Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, the Falcons, the Buffalo Bills, Panthers, Kansas City Chiefs, and Miami Dolphins. The away games include Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Cowboys, Patriots, Saints, Jets. That's a win. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans. Over under here is set at 10. You taking over or under on the Bengals?
Oh, let's see. Defending AFC champs. They actually had a pretty good offseason. They've added a few little pieces, beefed up their secondary a little
Beefed
bit.
up their O-line.
Yep, which is the big glaring problem for them. I really, really wanted them to trade with the Texans for what's the name of the tackle here in Houston? His name's escaping me all of a sudden, but I'm gonna go over on the Bengals. This is a good draft for them to continue to beef up that offensive line. I think in the middle rounds, the more I've been doing these rookie profiles, which we're about to publish, that seems like a good range between the second and fourth round for them to do that. And obviously the offense has nuclear potential, and I say the momentum picks up where it was. And it seems like a 10-7 seems like a fairly low number for a team that's coming off a Super Bowl appearance.
Oh, I'm gonna probably get just reamed here on Twitter, but I'm gonna take the under. I think they did come on hot, but I just have some concerns. 10 wins, I think, is I don't think there's many teams out here on this list that are at 10 wins. I mean, you look at even like the Colts, who are at 9.5. You look at, Buffalo Bills are at 11.5, and I think they're just all around a better team. I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna say they are a 9-win team. I'm gonna be one game here. Scott took the over but I do like what they're doing this offseason. I love the fact they're finally focusing on offensive line. It seems like it's been forever since the Bengals have ever had an offensive line, but they're finally doing it. They're finally getting around to beefing up that line, protecting their franchise quarterback. But I just think that you look at the schedule's a little tougher. I do think that I still think they're going to be hot, but they were really hot down the stretch. I just don't think we're going to see that caliber of football all season long. So I'm going to take 9 wins here. They're still going to make the playoffs, but I think that I don't think they're going to hit the 10-win mark.
That's fair. We got to agree we got to disagree sometime.
We do. We finally hit one. Second team, the AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers. Over under is set at 7.5. So pretty low from Vegas from a Steeler standpoint, from comparison for previous years. Schedule at home includes Baltimore Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, the Raiders, the Patriots, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Away, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and then Falcons, the Bills, the Panthers, the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Eagles. That's a pretty tough schedule again.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take? Over under 7.5?
Oh man, that's a tough one to call because Steelers are always good with Mike Tomlin. He will coach up that team and he will get the most out of them. But like right now, looking at it, you got to be a little concerned with the offense. Right now, they're potentially looking at trotting out Mitchell Trubisky. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Trubisky, there's some potential there. Like I had said before last season that if Josh Allen got injured, that I thought that staff can probably get the most out of Trubisky. Now, I didn't mean that they were going to win 10 games with him, but I thought they can find, because that Bears staff, man, they were brutal. So Trubisky's still a little bit of a mystery for me, and who knows? Pittsburgh could go rookie quarterback and go that direction, but because the line is under 500, and I think Tomlin can still get the most out of his team, I'm gonna lean over here, but it's not something I'm real confident in or real comfortable with.
Yeah, Tomlin has yet to have a losing record as an NFL coach. I think that's something to consider here as well. This may be the first year, but I'm not as like anti Mitchell Trubisky as a lot of Twitter folks are. And you look at his stats. I mean, he hits them up and downs, but he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. And you look at like his touchdown to INT ratio outside of his rookie season, that's kind of an anomaly. But you look at the rest of his stats, and they aren't by any means, phenomenal. But in terms of like what Big Ben was towards the tail end of his career, I think Mitchell Trubisky is a step up. And then you look at also what his legs can bring to the table here. And then I look at it as like the Matt Nagy effect, right? It's kind of like the Adam Gase effect. And I say, how much of that was Matt Nagy in the play calling?
Yep.
And I think that question will be answered, twofold this year. One with Trubisky, two with the Bears, and what that offense does moving forward as well. But I think this is a great landing spot for Trubisky. I think it's going to be, of course, a make or break year for him. If he's able to kind of come back from that 1 year deal he'd signed with Buffalo, and then now he's back here in the starting role. So I'd like the position. The fact that Tomlin has never had a losing season, I'm going to take the over here as well and say 8 wins on the season. Next, we have, let's see here, Cleveland Browns in the AFC North, who are not listed, so we won't be covering their schedule here because of the Watson uncertainty. Vegas does not release any odds. So next is Baltimore Ravens, over set at 9.5. And the Ravens schedule includes the Bengals at home, Browns at home, Steelers at home, of course, in the division, the Falcons, the Bills, the Panthers, the Broncos, and the Dolphins. Away is the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Saints, the Giants, the Jets, and the Buccaneers. Again, over under is set at 9.5. Which way are you going?
That's a pretty good line. Let's go under for the sake of we started off with so many overs. With the Ravens, they're pretty much bringing the team back that they had last year, minus all the injuries. So the running game should be a lot healthier. This may be crazy to say this, especially from a fantasy perspective, but I'm not 100% sure that Lamar Jackson is the guy that's going to be able to get this team to the next level or whatnot. And I don't know, man. It just feels like it's a tough division. The schedule is pretty respectable. I don't know. It feels like a 9-8 type season for me. And then we're going to have some questions about, which direction is this franchise going after the season.
I'm on the fence here. This is such a good line. Like, part of me wants to take the over because I think that they could go back to being the best team in this division. The other part of me agrees with you, and Lamar Jackson is a much better fantasy quarterback than he is an NFL quarterback. Like, he's just an athletic freak throwing the ball is what he is, right? Like, he's not a really good pocket passer, or they can't hum the ball down the field like Michael Vick could, right? So when you look at his skill set and what he brings, like, yes, he's dynamic. Yes, he's explosive. Yes, he's fun to watch, but that doesn't mean he's a good NFL quarterback, right? And but 9.5, it's a good line. Schedule's tough. I think I would just avoid this line if I'm betting, honestly. But if I'm forced, I probably take the under as well. Just 10 wins again is a lot of wins, right? I'm going to take the under, but I don't think I'd bet on this line, just period, quite frankly. How about you? Is this a bet that you'd seek out?
No. Like I said, anytime I look at a line right away and I'm so torn, I think that's a really good number. That's a really good line. Something I'm going to stay away from.
So through the AFC East and the AFC North so far, what's your favorite line? What's one that just pops out at you?
It seems like one of the early ones we talked about really stood out as a team that was the Bills. I mean, that seems like a pretty good line to me. Like I said, you're the overwhelming Super Bowl favorite right now, and they're giving you the same over/under as what they ended last year in a year that they kind of struggled. So,
yeah, I'm going to say through the AFC East and the AFC North, I think I'm going to go Steelers. I think 7.5 is just a little low. I think 8 wins is realistic. 9 wins is a possibility. So I'm going to take Steelers as my favorite line so far through the first two conferences. All right, AFC South, Tennessee Titans, 9.5. Schedule includes Houston Texans, Colts, Jaguars, Bengals, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, and Giants all at home. Away games include Texans, Colts, Jaguars, Bills, Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington football team, or the Commanders, whatever they are now. No one knows their name anymore. So which side you going here? 9.5 over under?
I'm gonna go under. I'm not set on that the Titans don't need to kind of really consider going in a different direction at quarterback. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, he's fine, but I think he's plateaued, and it was like an average offseason at best for them. So you're kind of bringing back the same crew for the most part, and they get some gimmies with the Texans and the Jaguars every year, but overall, it's just not a team that I'm overly impressed with, and this early in the offseason, especially with it being before the draft, it's a lot easier for me to get excited about teams or to look at things optimistically. So that makes me want to lean with a bunch of overs. So while we're still early through this process here, I see a line that I'm kind of, shrug my shoulders about. So, it's not something that's definitive for me, but I lean to under.
Okay. Yeah. They were the 1 seed last year, and they were probably like one of the worst 1 seeds that we've seen in a while inside the playoffs.
I think we all saw that. We all saw that loss coming.
Yeah, I don't know very many people who had them slated to or slotted to win that game. You looked at odds and you looked at just a lot of different analysts and what they were projecting and what we're projecting, and it was very hard to project them to keep moving forward, especially given like their finish at the end of the year. So I don't like their chances of 10 wins this season. I agree. Tannehill is he's like just safe, right? He's not ever gonna like get you the extra oomph that you need to get to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think you're probably right. His time is probably nearing an end as a starting quarterback, but 10 wins is again just a hard number for the Titans to hit. So I'm going to take under as well. Colts are also at 9.5. They get Matt Ryan this year, pairing with Pittman, which I love for fantasy. They've been rumored to land Julio, reunite him with Matt Ryan. That's another option here. So 9.5 is the line. Home games include Texans, Jaguars, Titans, Kansas City, Chargers, Eagles, Steelers, Washington football team. Away games include Texans, Jaguars, Titans, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, and the Patriots. I think that's one of the easier schedules we've seen so far. How about you?
Yep, this is the easiest call so far for me too. This is an easy over. Frank Reich got nine wins, and it should have been 10, except for he got 9 wins out of Carson Wentz last year with his team, and it should have been 10. They should have made the playoffs, except that Wentz was absolutely brutal in that game against the Jaguars. And look at his schedule. I mean, this is the easy over for me. Like I said, I overall love Frank Reich, and Matt Ryan is a huge improvement for this team. I think the Colts are the easy call for AFC South champs, and I look at them as, this is because of this schedule. This is like an 11 to 12 win team.
Yeah, this is the easiest schedule that we have seen so far, like by far, right? You're looking at the conference, and it can easily be 2 wins over Texas, 2 wins over Jacksonville. Maybe they split with Tennessee, right? And then not to mention just the rest of the teams. I like the schedule a lot. I really like the Matt Ryan move here for the Colts. I think he's a lot better of a quarterback than Wentz was. And what is this now? 5 straight years with 5 different quarterbacks for the Colts. I think since Andrew Luck has left, they haven't had a quarterback there more than 1 year.
Keep trying. Give them credit for trying.
They are trying.
And they moved on, from Wentz. They found a way. Like, all right, that didn't work. Let's tear off that Band-Aid and get out of here.
Get him out of here. So I really like the move from a fantasy perspective, also from an NFL's perspective. There's like very few moves that you look at and say, wow, it makes sense for both the NFL, the team itself, and fantasy. So love the move. I'm going to take over here as well. Houston Texans. Do you want to guess what the line is?
Oh, they hit exactly what they expected last year, which was 4-13. I'm guessing they're going to think that the Texans are going to be a little better. So what, 4.5, 5?
On the money, buddy. 4.5 is the line. So 4.5 is the line. They're facing Colts, Jaguars, Titans at home, Cleveland Browns, Kansas City Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles, Washington football team. Away is the Colts, Jaguars, and Titans, Bears, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, Dolphins, and Giants. They did re-sign Brandon Cooks today. So Brandon Cooks is not being traded away. So it looks like they have their wide receiver 1. They have, looks like Mills is going to be the starting quarterback again, who was actually showed some promise last year. You look at the rookie quarterback class, and he had arguably the best year of all the rookies. He actually looked pretty damn good on tape too. I think they give him every option or every chance to succeed here in 2022. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take 5 games here for Texans. How about you?
Well, okay, so I've said many times that the Houston Texans are probably the worst franchise in pro sports, and I meant that, but in the last few months, they're actually starting to show some sanity. They're starting to kind of do things right with their new GM. So it's hopeful that there's a glimmer of hope on the horizon. I'm going to go under here, only because I actually hope that the Texans are still, because you look at they basically are going out of their way to just re-sign all these one-year guys and all this ragtag group that they brought back last year. And again, they played really hard for David Coley. I don't believe that the Texans should have dismissed Coley after 1 year. I thought he deserved a second year. So how they'll perform with Lovie Smith is an unknown. They've got the ammo now after trading Deshaun Watson. They can actually turn it around pretty quickly. But I'm actually going to hope that they continue to build up draft picks, try to tear everything down and build things up via. Hopefully, this new staff knows what they're doing. I don't necessarily think they're going to target a quarterback early. I think they will. This is not a great quarterback draft. I think that they'll actually give Davis Mills a chance to see if he can make or break things with him. And it'll be interesting. I'm not saying they won't target a quarterback, but I agree with you. I think they're going to try to see what the kid can do. But again, we went with a bunch of overs earlier. This is something I'm not real excited about. I don't have a strong feeling either way. So from a Houstonian standpoint, I kind of hope that they're bad again, so they get another really high pick and a really good 2023 draft. And let's give them the same record as last year, 4-13, maybe 3-14.
All right, I took the over, you took the under. Next up, Jacksonville Jaguars. Home games include Texans, Colts, Titans, Ravens, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, and the Giants. Away games include the Texans, Colts, Titans, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Washington football team. Who you take? Oh, the line is set at 6 even. Over or under?
The Jaguars line is at 6.
Yep.
So they think their wins are going to double. Woo! Now, I don't think things could possibly get worse.
Urban Meyer is gone.
That franchise was pretty bad last year. So, gosh. So
they get back ETN, though.
What's that?
They get ETN back, which is...
Yeah, I mean, he'll make a difference, but...
They signed every wide receiver and their mom.
We're expecting this team to more than double the wins they had last year. Seems like a sucker bet, like they're trying to get everyone to jump under because they really think they're going to go over. But I can't see them improving 4 games to hit an over of 6. So that might be a push, but forced to pick, I'm going under.
Yeah, I agree. It probably is a push. 7's a lot, I think, for Jacksonville. 6 is realistic. Yeah, you're right. They're doubling their wins here. Although I do have to say although I don't like the signings, I don't like them going out and getting Ingram, Kirk, Zay, all these pass catchers. Spent all this money on them, a ridiculous amount of money on all 3. When you combine it, you look at it though, and you have to say, at least they're doing what they can to try to give their young quarterback a chance to succeed. So, a lot of these teams, like look at Green Bay, right? Green Bay never goes out and tries to get people for Aaron Rodgers. So, tip of the hat here to Jacksonville for surrounding their, young quarterback with, I wouldn't call it talent, but surrounding them with players in order to, help him succeed in today's NFL. So, I am still staying with the under, but I wanted to, just shout out that at least they're doing what they can to try to give him some options. Last division in the AFC West is the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs. Line is set, and write that one down. 1 second. Line is set at 10.5. All right. Schedule: Broncos at home, Raiders at home, Chargers at home, Bills at home, Jaguars, Rams, Seahawks, and Titans at home. Away games include Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Cardinals, Bengals, Texans, Colts, Niners, and the Buccaneers. 10.5 the line, over under.
So they have them dropping game and a half off last year. That actually feels about right. But gosh, I'm going to lean over. Maybe I think they can drop back maybe 1 game. So I think they were 12-5 last year, so they dropped to 11-6. Still, anytime you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, guy like that, I thought they did okay to bring in Orlando Brown. That's going to help them, a little bit on the offensive line. A little concerned about their skill position group. The running back still, Ronald Jones. I don't know. Is he really? I don't know. They're just going to go with the committee backfield with him and CEH. I like the addition of Juju Smith-Schuster. He's been one of my favorite guys in fantasy over the years. He's always underrated. Him and Brandon Cooks. Like every year I'm in drafts, I'm scooping those guys up. Like, okay, I mean, it didn't work out great. It didn't work out great last year for Juju because he was pretty much out the whole year. But those are the kind of guys that I always target in drafts. But I regress back to that. Again, I don't know that they're going to fall back a game and a half, so I'm going to lean over here.
I'm going to take the under. You look at like when they came out of the gates last year, they looked like they were in trouble, right? Everyone was running that cover 2 shell on them, and then Patrick Mahomes struggled. It took away that deep threat that he had, and they were forced to just kind of dink and dunk their way down the field, and it looked like he really struggled against that type of coverage. I think that's why they went out and made this trade. They didn't want to pay Tyreek, but they also went out and got themselves a slot receiver. They went out and got themselves some other options. I think we're going to see a lot different of an offense here in 2022 for the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for all these players to kind of come together and gel. And like I said, they struggled in the beginning of last year. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say they win 10 games. I just don't like that extra half a game there. I still think that the Chiefs are a powerhouse and they're as good of a bet as anybody to win the Super Bowl. But I just think that all these new players coming together and it's going to take a little bit for them all to click. All right, we have next team in AFC West. We have the Raiders. Okay, Raiders home games: Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Cardinals, Texans, Colts, Patriots, Niners, and away games include Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Jacksonville, Rams, Saints, Steelers, and Seahawks and Titans. Who do you like? What do you like here? Oh, line. I didn't give you the line, did I? The line here. Didn't write these last ones down. The line is 8.5.
Ooh, that's interesting because they would they win 10 last year?
Yeah, 10 and 7. 10 and 7.
You bring in Devontae Adams. It's a good offseason for them overall. I thought they did some good things in the secondary.
Yeah, they actually dropped them a game and a half.
Again, who's going to lose the games in this division? This has got to be the toughest division in football now.
I made a joke on Twitter and I said Russell Wilson left the toughest division of football and he joined the toughest division of football.
Yeah, pretty accurate. Seattle will be a comfortable last place team in this division as well. Gosh, it's hard to see them dropping off 2 games, but this is like kind of a suspicious line to me. So I am going to actually take the under on the Raiders, but it's not something I feel really comfortable or good about. It just comes down to the war of attrition in the AFC West, and somebody's got to finish last, man. And I don't know. It's not something I feel 100%. This would be a no bet for me, but I'm going to suppose you're going to go over. So we got to differentiate. I'll take under.
I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to say that this might be the first time in NFL history that we see all 4 teams from one division make the playoffs. Right? It's very possible. If it last year, I mean, outside Seattle, I mean, like you look at, the Niners, Arizona, and the Rams. This year we could see Kansas City, Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos all make the playoffs. I'm going to take the over. I don't see how you drop this. I mean, I understand the division got tougher, but you're going to drop them a game and a half after adding Devontae Adams and giving yourself a true wide receiver 1, relieving some of the pressure from from Darren Waller. And so I'm going to take the over here. I think 8.5. I see this team winning 9. I could see them winning 10, but 9 is a pretty safe number for me. So I'm going to take the over here at 8.5. Last team of the night, we're going to end at the AFC, and then we're going to do our giveaway here. Or last 2 teams, I should say, are the Chargers. So Chargers home games are the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Titans, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Dolphins. Away games include the Broncos, the Chiefs, Raiders, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Browns, the Texans, the Colts, and the Niners. Last year, they went 9-8. This year, they are set at 10 games even. Over or under?
Let's go over. I think the Chargers are one of the most entertaining teams to watch. I love that they brought J.C. Jackson to take care of that leaky secondary they had. That's a big plus. Sebastian Joseph Day was another nice addition for the pass rush, and I think they draft well pretty much every season. I love Justin Herbert. Love the offense in itself, and man, this is going to be like in the old school days before we had the Red Zone channel. We had all these games available to everyone. I would have loved to have been on the West Coast with you there, Billy, so I could watch these games every afternoon. This is going to be a really fun division to watch this season. And I don't really think the Raiders have a legitimate chance of winning this division, but it would not shock me to see any different combination of order throughout the whole standings of this division. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it really is going to be a great division. I'm going to take the over here. I really thought like the Chargers had a chance to go to the Super Bowl last year. I'm going to say it again. They're one of my favorite. I don't know if they're necessarily a dark horse to go to the Super Bowl, but you look at like odds right now and they're plus 1,600 to win. That's like that's like the 7th, 8th best odds right now. So, you know, a $6 bet pays out $100. I'm betting that. I'm going to bet that right now on the show. But I think that I just entered it actually as we were talking. I was like, oh, 6 plus 1,600. I'll take that.
Do it for me. I can't do it here.
So I just entered in my Chargers to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,600. So I'm going to take the over here at, I'm going to say they win 11 games. 10's a good line, but I think this offense is dynamic. They re-signed Mike Will. You know, you have Palmer developing another year. They bring in Everett. They still have a dynamic run game. So the defense got so much better. I really like what they did here on the defense side of the ball because that was the Chargers' weakness. So I really think that this is a much improved defense, and I think this team is going to be surprising people this year. Last team of the night, Denver Broncos. Home games include Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers, Arizona Cardinals, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, New York Jets, and the Niners. Away games include Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Ravens, Panthers, Jaguars, Rams, Seahawks, and the Titans. The line is set at 10 also. Jeez, the whole division set at 10. Tough division. 10 wins for the Broncos over under.
Yeah, so it's hard to keep picking overs in the same division because these teams they're going to beat up on each other a little bit. I mean, somebody's got to lose these games, right? But again, to me, the Broncos probably had the best offseason in the entire division. Not only did they bring in DJ Jones and Randy Gregory, got Russell Wilson. I mean, the amount of increase that's going to have for the offense over what they had last year is phenomenal between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater.
They wanted Russ to cook, and he already burned down the stadium. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. But that being said, man, I'm going to go over again. Like I said, I mean, I know somebody's going to lose these games, and these teams are going to beat each other up. But it just seems like, this is. It seems like an 11 to 12 win team to me, and Russell Wilson's going to make a huge impact on the whole franchise.
Yeah, I think they have, though, out of this division, looking at it so far, I think they have one of the tougher schedules. You look at it, I think I agree with Wheeler. He says the whole division goes 3-3 against each other. I think that's probably accurate. We're going to see them split a lot of these games. Scott says everybody wants to bet the Broncos over. I think they want to bet it, and everybody does want to bet the Chargers over, yes. I think they want to bet the over on the Broncos, but I'm going to take the under. I mean, Russell Wilson, I know he came off that finger injury last year, and he didn't look the same. But, again, new system, new team. It just takes a while for people to gel together, right? 10 wins, again, is a lot. They were 7-10 last year. They're giving Russell Wilson the 3-game edge here, which from Drew Lock, I mean, and Teddy Bridgewater, I think that's definitely, probably a good number. But that being said, the division's tough, and you look at all their other games. I mean, yes, they play the Jets, they play the Jaguars, and they play, the Seahawks. Those 3 are pretty much going to be wins, and the Texans 4. But there's a couple other, tough games here. You have the Niners, you have, Titans who aren't, horrible. You have the Ravens who are tough. So Cardinals, who are tough. So I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to say 9 wins, but it's close. I have not taken this bet probably if I'm out looking at it. Well, it's giveaway time. Everyone who's tuned in right now, if you were paying attention during the show, first make sure that you retweeted the show sheet, or the show on Twitter, I should say, the link. And then I want you to say, we mentioned who we thought had the easiest schedule here in the AFC. Why don't you, if you're listening to the show right now, type in, let us know who you think, or if you remember who we thought had the easiest schedule. It was an easy over for us. Type it in the chat right now. We'll give everybody a couple minutes.
I remember. Am I eligible, Scott?
you are not eligible. But you can take another sip of beer if you'd like.
I get no respect around here.
All right, everybody. Who will have the easiest schedule in the AFC according to Jody and I? Indy over. There it is. Jose Pena got it. So, Jose, we'll reach out to you. You win the free $25 best ball entry. Nice job. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating. You win the free entry into the $25 best ball entry into the FFWC. For those of you who are new to watching the FullTime Fantasy Podcast, we also have a Grind Time podcast, a high stakes dedicated podcast. Scott here is entering his own competition. So head on over to the FFWC. We are just started a $1,000 dynasty league over there. We're going to be posting updates on the FullTime channel as well as the FFWC Twitter. So head on over there. Make sure you're following both those accounts on Twitter for updates. And then make sure you tune in live here. Jody and I are going to be recording once a week, every Thursday. We'll touch base on the NFC next week. It was a really ambitious goal to try to get through all 32 teams today. It just wasn't going to happen. I just threw it on the sheet just because I wanted to. But we're going to make sure that we touch the NFC next week. And then as we get closer to the draft, we're going to start talking more draft prospects. We're going to be talking about team needs. And then, of course, after the draft, we're going to talk about landing spots. And while we're on the topic of rookies, head on over to the FullTime Fantasy website. Take a look at Jody has a bunch of his rookie profiles up there. And so a couple of them are free. If you like the profiles, make sure to buy a subscription. You can read all of the profiles that Jody has compiled over there. And it's a great place to start your research for this incoming draft class. I think that he did a fantastic job on those. And then also on the YouTube page that you're watching right now, down below, inside this arm, down below, inside, you can see I just loaded in the top 10 running back prospects. I'm going to add a couple more running backs, and I'm going to start diving into wide receivers. So those will be updated here over the weekend as well. And the goal is to have the top 50 before the draft is complete. So, Jody, it was fun, buddy, sitting down, talking football with you, drinking some beers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been long overdue, man. I'm glad we were finally able to, get this scheduled. And I'm so excited that we're going to be able to do this. And, there's going to be some weeks when we might be able to trot off a couple of weeks. I mean, maybe that seems a little ambitious right now, especially with me working on finishing up the top 100 draft prospects, which I'll actually probably have on FullTimeFantasy.com. That should be posted probably tomorrow or Saturday. But going through all the interior 3-4 defensive tackles and all that, it takes a little time, but I'll get it up, like I said, in the next day or two.
Jody's out here grinding for everybody. He's grinding for all of us to take advantage of his knowledge here. So make sure that
grind time. You got it right.
Grind time. Make sure that you are following him on Twitter. Make sure that you are subscribing over at FullTime. We'll be back next week. We'll talk NFC win totals. And I want to say thank you all for tuning in. Jose, I'll reach out to you about the best ball entry. Congratulations on the win. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating, everybody. Have a good night.